you're thinking about visiting the Black Hills, you've made a good choice, but there's a lot more to do than see Mount Rushmore.
We're Matt and Cheryl, and we actually write a guide to the Black Hills. We've been traveling here since 2009, and we are just finishing up a 5-day trip to the Black Hills. So without further ado, we're going to give you our 15 favorite things to do in the Black Hills.
Okay, now our first favorite thing is Mount Rushmore. It's the thing that gets people here to the Black Hills, and we really enjoy Mount Rushmore. It has, of course, the faces of 4 U.S. presidents on it. And here's my little trivia question for you. Can you name the 4 presidents? If you can, put it in the comments.
And something kind of cool to know about Mount Rushmore is, you know, it's beautiful in the morning when the sun's hitting it. The sculptor that made it, Gutzon Borglum, that was one of his criteria, was to put it on a face of a mountain that was going to really sparkle when the sun hit it. We've seen it at sunrise, but one of our other very favorite things to do there is to go to the evening lighting ceremony. They light up Mount Rushmore at night, and they do a very patriotic program where they call the veterans down. They talk about the history of America, and it's really, you have to do the evening program if you go to Mount Rushmore, because if you don't, I guess in my opinion, you really are kind of missing some of the patriotism that goes along with seeing that awesome monument.
Now, we know you're at least aware of Mount Rushmore, so we want to dive into the other things to do in the Black Hills, but just know we do have another video on the 10 best things to do at the Mount Rushmore Memorial when you visit. Our next thing to do is another mountain carving called Crazy Horse. So after Mount Rushmore was completed, the Dakota Indians wanted to have their own mountain carving, and so they commissioned a guy to carve Crazy Horse, who was a Lakota warrior.
Crazy Horse is actually meant to be bigger than Mount Rushmore by quite a bit. And just for context, those faces on Mount Rushmore are 60 feet tall. Crazy Horse's face is 80 feet tall. And unlike Mount Rushmore, where it's just the faces, they're going to do the entire body of Crazy Horse. When they're finished, it's going to be the largest mountain carving of all time. Like it's huge. But they did start it in 1940. I'm looking at my notes.
1948.
They started it in 1948, and really they haven't made a ton of progress on it. It's mostly his face and his arm right now, but they do have a big vision for it.
It was carved by a guy, or began anyway, by a guy named Korchuk Zilkovsky, and Mount Rushmore was carved by a guy named Gutzon Borglum. So the requirement to be a mountain sculptor means you just have to have a crazy name, I guess.
And I just wanted to share a little pro tip if you do go to Crazy Horse, is you can see Crazy Horse for free from the road. And this view isn't that much different if you pay to get in. But if we go there, what we like to do is we do like to pay to get in, and then we pay the additional money for the bus tour, which isn't that much more. And that gets you a lot closer and different views. So I say either go for free or pay the extra and get closer.
Next up is Deadwood is a really famous Old West town and a fun place to visit, to go back to the Old West. They have all these cool old buildings from the 1800s there. You can gamble there. They actually legalized gambling, one of the first cities to do so in America. That's really rejuvenated the town. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and a couple other things. This place has some great free things to do too. Deadwood Alive does all these free shows in the middle of the road. Like every half hour to hour, there's schedules in all the little shops and stuff, so you can just pick one of those up. You can see a shootout. You can see them arresting the guy that shot Wild Bill. There's all sorts of things like that going on. And I wanted to share with you our very favorite thing we did in Deadwood, which was pretty unusual. We went on a tour of a brothel. Okay, prostitution was actually like going strong until 1980 when it was all shut down. And it was a really big part of the town's economy. And this is not some sketch like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing type museum. It's very classy done, but nothing, we went to like all the museums in Deadwood because we write a travel guide, but nothing explained the town's history to me better than learning about the brothel and its impact on the community. It was very enlightening and an experience you won't get anywhere else.
It's a cool place to learn history. We saw old stagecoaches, an old Victorian home, you know, the Old West buildings. We stayed in an old haunted hotel.
The Bullock Hotel.
The Bullock Hotel. You can go to Mount Moriah Cemetery, where some Western figures are buried, like Wild Bill and Calamity Jane. Really cool place to learn some history and get some variety for your trip.
The next one is Custer State Park. Custer State Park is humongous, and it is home to some very beautiful lakes and hikes and lodges.
Scenic drives. I mean, the scenic drives in Custer State Park are awesome. Some of the best we've ever been on. The Needles Highway, Iron Mountain Road. These are just winding drives that go through the Black Hills, through these formations. I mean, some of the most memorable, cool drives you'll ever do.
And it has amazing wildlife. You will be able to see bison and prairie dogs and turkeys. And our very favorite are the begging burros. These are wild burros that come down. They're so cute. Last time we were here, they had babies. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. But that's one of the things our family looks forward to when we travel with our kids, is just driving around that loop and seeing the wildlife.
They have several lodges in Custer State Park. 4 of them, I believe. We visited all of them on this trip. They all have great views. They're in just beautiful areas to stay. They have fun activities. We did a chuck wagon dinner through the Bluebell Lodge in Custer State Park. So lots of fun activities and good places to stay.
Yeah, and we went on some pretty great hikes in Custer too. You can do longer hike up to like Black Elk Peak. We went to Sunday Gulch, which was kind of adventurous. We got to hold on to the bars as we hiked. And then the other one we did was the Cathedral Spires, where it gets you real close to those granite spires you see as you drive through. That was pretty fun.
And don't forget about the lakes. There's several beautiful lakes in Custer State Park. Cheryl went kayaking on Legion Lake. The most famous lake is Sylvan Lake, where they filmed National Treasure 2. Sylvan Lake, you can fish, paddleboard, kayak, walk around the lake, hike, swim at the lake. It's just really beautiful area.
Yeah, and if you do choose to go to Sylvan Lake, try to get there earlier in the morning or later on in the afternoon. The parking does fill up because I think the secret's out. Everyone knows Sylvan Lake is beautiful. The other little special tip I wanted to give you about the Black Hills in general is the Black Hills is a great place to go for people who travel with their dog. Because Custer State Park is a state park, and a lot of the things you go to, I mean, there's a lot of national parks within the Black Hills region, but a lot of the things you do are not in national parks, which means dogs are good to go. And so
great place for kids too. So bring the whole family, bring the dog.
Yeah.
You got tons of things to keep them entertained, and you could be here a week and have an amazing time. Okay, real quick, we have several resources for you if you are traveling to the Black Hills. We have a website with several blog articles on there that you can read to help you plan. On YouTube, we have a playlist of several videos on the Black Hills that you can. And then we also offer an itinerary and audio guide. So a guide for you to guide you through the Black Hills and that you can listen to learn about it as you're driving through. Our website's whereintheRockies.com.
All right. Next up is the Badlands. This is one of the 6 national park sites within the Black Hills area. And the Badlands are nothing to skip over. A lot of times people will skip it because it's far away from Mount Rushmore. It's like a 2-hour drive, but it is worth it.
Oh yeah. What they have there is basically like this plateau that's kind of eroding off down to the bottom, which doesn't sound all that exciting, but there's also all these peaks that stick up above the ground. Like, it's neat. It's a fun place to visit. We did several hikes on this trip.
Oh yeah, we loved the hikes we did. And the Ben Rifle Visitor Center, they have a little bit of a unique experience where, like, the Badlands is also kind of a national park because of the fossils that you can find there. And so they have a little area in the visitor center where they are carving out the rocks to get the fossils out of it. You can see them with their drills, and they have a camera up so you can see it up close. It is really cool and so unique to the national parks. I've never seen anything like that before.
One thing we really liked is the hiking there is, they call this open hike policy or whatever, where you can just kind of go wherever you want because it's just kind of these sand formations that you can walk on. Some really cool hikes where you can climb up to the peaks. We got up to this really high peak and looked across the whole park. That was really cool. Climbed up a ladder.
We have another video, the top 10 things to do in Badlands you ought to check out after this video.
Near the Badlands is the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. This is another national park site. And what they do is they preserve Cold War history.
Back in the days of the Cold War, they had missiles all over South Dakota and in the plains because they were closer to hit Russia. And the goal was in 30 minutes or less, they could knock out a target in Russia. And so they had crews of men that would stay here on these sites. They'd be underground for a lot of it, and they were just at the ready. And so what we did is we booked a tour, and these are pretty exclusive tours. They're not expensive, but they can only take 6 people in there at a time because it's such a tiny thing. And so about 24 people can go on a tour a day. But they take you down the elevator and they show you the mission control. And it was, I would say this was the sleeper of this trip. Like this, you talk about March Madness and the sleeper teams. I was not that geek to go to the Minuteman Missile, but now I'm like, that was so cool, and I'm going to tell everyone about it. Then the other great thing is that even though that tour only lets a few people in a day, the visitor center is new and it's so nicely done. They have we say the best video we've seen at a national park.
And it's an award-winning video.
Yeah, it's really good. That it helps you understand the Cold War because our kids don't get it. We barely get it because we didn't live through the Cold War. But it's a very cool historic site and an unusual thing. I love unusual things.
Give us a little credit. We lived through the last 13 years of the Cold War.
Okay, I just, I was too worried about Care Bears and Lucky Charms during that time in my life, so I never really.
We remember Rocky and some of the fabulous 80s and all that. Yeah. Oh, also, so if you can't get a tour, go to the visitor center. That's pretty neat. And then also you can go to another site where you can actually look down into a silo and see the missile down inside of the silo. But if you can get the tour, that was awesome. Okay, what do we got next? Devil's Tower is up next. Devil's Tower is actually located in Wyoming, but it's still part of the Black Hills. So it's right on the edge of South Dakota and Wyoming, and is a really unique, quirky formation.
Yeah, it's just like this big stone tower up in the middle of nowhere. And that also made a movie appearance in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, it was the first national monument in the country. So Teddy Roosevelt set it aside as the first national monument. There's some conjecture over what it is, but I think it's like the insides of a volcano that never erupted and just got frozen, and then the rest of it kind of eroded away. So it's like this bizarre tower. It's a sacred site to Native Americans, and it's a really lovely site to visit for a couple of hours maybe and walk around the tower. It's just great.
All right, and I have two special things I like to look for when we go there. The first is I like to see the prayer flags that are around. The Native Americans, like Matt said, it's sacred to them. And so those flags you see around are put there by the Native Americans for their prayers. And the other thing I like to look for are the white and yellow spots along the tower, because that's where it's been struck by lightning. It's like a huge lightning conductor because it's plains and then the tower, and it gets struck by lightning all the time, so I like to look for lightning strikes.
Okay, up next is Wind Cave National Park. This is the 7th largest cave in the world. It's 150 miles long, and they believe they've only discovered like 10% of it. This is another one you need a tour to visit it. You have to pay for a tour. So the America the Beautiful Pass, one of the kind of the funny things about this area, the Black Hills, the America the Beautiful Pass actually doesn't get you into a lot of sites. Like Mount Rushmore, you don't need the America the Beautiful Pass or a park pass, but you have to pay $10 parking. Wind Cave, you don't need a pass, but you have to pay for the tour. Same with Minuteman Missile. So it's kind of interesting around this area. But the tour was great.
Yeah, and we like that the caverns inside were really big, so if you struggle with claustrophobia, it's not too bad. And they have the most unique thing in that cave called boxwork, which is kind of why Wind Cave is a special cave, is, I don't even know, we're going to show a picture of boxwork on the video so that you can see what it looks like, but it's filled with that, and it's unique to that cave. They don't have much of it in other caves.
Yep. And then another kind of cool thing about it is that up above the cave is plains. They have a bison herd that roams there. You can do a scenic drive there. There's hikes. That's not the only cave, though, in the Black Hills to visit.
Yes, we visited Jewel Cave on this trip, so now we've done both. And you know, we were like going to be ready to say which is better, and we really can't. They're both cool in their own way.
Yep.
I can say about Jewel Cave is it's not like you're going in there and seeing jewels and rubies. It kind of has a little bit of like a golden tint in it somewhere. Like I think that's where the name comes from. But what I think is really cool about Jewel Cave is, first of all, you take a big elevator down, and so a lot of the walking you do within Jewel Cave isn't butt-kicking stairs. You're going down quite a bit. But what I think about Jewel Cave, the stuff on the walls looks kind of like coral. And in my mind, I kept feeling like I was a scuba diver. Because we were walking through the cave, I'm like, this is probably what the bottom of the ocean looks like without all the hassle of me having to get scuba certified and go to the bottom of the ocean.
The nice thing about both of them are they're guided tours by the National Park Service, and the National Park Service always does a good job on their guided tours. They're always interesting. You learn. They're just good storytellers. That cave is the 5th longest cave in the world, over 200 miles long, and they're still discovering more. They have like camps down in the cave for them to go camp out for several. They explore it like 4 or 5 days at a time, and they're adding new mileage every year. Like they think it's probably maybe over 1,000 miles long, which is crazy. So.
Well, I thought they said 5,000 to 7,000.
Oh, okay.
It was huge.
Yeah,
it was
I don't know.
humongous. They think it's big, big, big. They can tell by the wind currents.
The walking tours, though, are only like a half a mile or a mile or something.
Yeah. But one thing I wanted to bring up too, like we mentioned the tickets are not expensive. Like I think the most I've seen a ticket for a national park tour is $12. I think normally they're around $6, depending on which activity you're doing. So they're not things that are going to break the bank. They're very affordable, but
book them in advance.
But yes, because people do snatch them up, and sometimes just because of the limited amount of space, like going into a cave or the missile silo things, there's just not enough space for people for them to do a lot of tours on them.
Okay, up next is a train ride. So, I mean, hey, it's cool. The Black Hills have a steam engine train. It's called the 1880 train. Not everywhere has a train ride for you, so this is another feather in the cap for visiting the Black Hills. This started in the 1950s to preserve the steam engine era. And it is one of the oldest continuously operating tour trains in the country.
Yeah, and one thing that's kind of nice of it, they have two depots. They've got Hill City and Keystone, which are both great places to go. Keystone especially has a lot of touristy activities, and so you can book your tickets. Like maybe if you're in Hill City, book your ticket, go to Keystone, and then you can choose a time to return. And you don't need to just directly come back. If you want to go spend a few hours in Keystone, book a later return trip. And the trip's 1 hour each way. It goes, it's a nice, easy, leisurely ride. It's in the pretty canyon, so it's a great ride, and it's to me, like, we were lucky we got a special tour when we went, and they kind of talked to us about the work that goes into preserving that. And so as you travel on that train, just think about, like, everything on that train is like made in a shop. They have welders that are welding the bearings on there, and they have a wood carver, like a carpenter, that's like making the seats. It's crazy to see the effort that goes into the preservation of some of these things that we see.
Yeah, that's actually pretty special about those steam engine trains. So that's a good one to do. We're going to make a video on our 1880 train ride that you can check out if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll put a card in it if it's ready to go.
Yeah.
If not, watch for it later. We'll put it up there.
Okay, what do we got next? Spearfish Canyon. This is where we're standing right now. You can see how pretty it is. Oh, I just noticed some people behind us are now fishing in the river. That's pretty cool. So Spearfish Canyon, a beautiful area.
And what we love about Spearfish Canyon so much is there are 3 waterfalls along this canyon, and they're easy to get to. They are so accessible and they're so pretty. The Spearfish Falls is 40 feet tall. It's just a 1 mile round trip. Rough Rock Falls, you don't even have to do the hike. You could just go to the viewpoints. And little pro tip, there's 3 viewpoints of Rough Rock Falls. You want to get to where the bottom of the falls are. I think a lot of times we think the top is the coolest view, but the bottom is the best view.
Looks like the Shire from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Also, there's lodging in Spearfish Canyon. So Spearfish Canyon and Latch String Inn have lodging and restaurants that you can eat at. So and it's just a nice scenic drive.
All right, the next one is to bike the Mikkelson Bike Trail. The Mikkelson Bike Trail, oh man, we've done this before. We didn't get to go on the trail this trip, and the whole trip we've been a little sour that we're not on the bike trail.
Yeah, maybe next time we'll come, and we're thinking about doing the whole thing. So the trail is over 100 miles long. It goes from Deadwood up north all the way through the Black Hills to Edgemont in the south. I mean, that'd be a pretty cool way to see the entire Black Hills over the course of 2 or 3 days if you wanted to do that. And they have shuttles that will help get you from point A to point B. There's plenty of bike rentals along the route. Of course, you don't need to do the whole trail. You can just start anywhere you want and go for a few miles, and they'll shuttle you back. So really a lot of cool options and a beautiful way to see the Black Hills. We did it last time we were here near Crazy Horse, and it's just gorgeous ride.
Yes. Okay, the next thing is we want to talk seasonal. So there is the Volks March and the Buffalo Roundup.
Yep.
And these both happen in September. So the Volks March is actually when you get to hike all the way up to the top of Crazy Horse. So if you really want a close view, you can do that.
Now, we haven't done this yet, but our writer for our website who lives here in the Black Hills, Brandy, she has done it. She really enjoyed it. I'm pretty jealous, actually. I want to come back here in September and get up to the face of Crazy Horse so you can be right next to the face. That would be really cool. Also, the same weekend in September, they have the Buffalo Roundup in Custer State Park. So they round up all the buffaloes so they can test them and make sure they're healthy and stuff like that. They have these buffalo corrals and a big brand new buffalo visitor center there in Custer State Park that kind of teaches you all about it and stuff. Thousands of people come to watch the Buffalo Roundup.
Next one is Dahl's Chainsaw Art. This has been so fun. Since we've been traveling since 2009, we've been watching these 2 brothers. They build amazing things out of wood and chainsaws. They use their chainsaws to carve it up, and they build the coolest things. And I feel like every time we come back, they have opened up a new location. And so now they're in 4 places. Let's see if I can name them. They're in Rapid City, Custer, Wall, and Deadwood. Are they not in Custer?
Not Rapid City, Hill City.
Hill City. Okay,
Yeah,
I was close.
I think they have another sales location in Rapid City too. They're kind of all over. They're growing and expanding. 2 cool guys from Minnesota that do it. I mean, we visited the one in Wall this time, and they have this, they're getting bigger and better at everything they make. It's incredible. So they have this huge towering jackalope. And what was great about this is you could walk up into the jackalope, like a little tree house. And it was just, inside was gorgeous. The woodwork is insane.
It is so cool. And we finally cracked and bought Matt a little buffalo because we love Yellowstone and the Black Hills and all that. And we love Dahl's Chainsaw Art. So we finally bought one. If you go there, I mean, you can see Smokey the Bear, you can see Bigfoot. And sometimes it's kind of nice to give them a little donation just for checking them out, but it's not necessary. So we just had to change locations because someone decided to come fish right behind us. We were there first and they came behind us and we moved anyway. So
Yeah, we want them to enjoy their fishing,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
We can shoot anywhere. Everything is beautiful in the Black Hills. We're fine with that. Next up is family-friendly things to do in the Black Hills. So I mentioned that this is a great place for a family vacation. Holy cow, there are just so many things geared towards tourists and especially families. So we did Rush Mountain once, which is kind of like a roller coaster park, and they had a mountain coaster and zip line and things like that.
Yeah, our kids loved it. We took our kids to Reptile Gardens when they were small, and it was a very fun, exciting thing. It's like the world's biggest reptilian zoo, so that was fun.
One thing we haven't done that we want to do is Bear Country USA. We have done several other bear parks. You get to drive through and be very close to the bears, but again, we haven't been able to do that one yet.
Well, a couple more we haven't done but look fun is there's Old McDonald's Farm, which is really aimed at younger children where you can pet things, and also the Buffalo Coaster. Now, we've driven by this. It's never open on the times that we're driving by. It looks pretty cheesy, but like what you do is you go on this roller coaster and you have like your fake gun and you shoot at the fake buffalo as you go. And I just think, you know what? That would be like the thing you got to tell someone you did. You're like, oh yeah, I rode a buffalo coaster. I was shooting at the bison. I think it looks fun.
Yep. Storybook Island is a free park in Rapid City that has all these just scenes from fairy tales and things like that.
And that's really affordable and cute. We love taking our little kids there.
Cookouts, Chuck Wagon Cookouts. So we mentioned we did a Chuck Wagon Cookout with Bluebell. There's a few others around the Black Hills that you can do as well.
Yeah, if you head into the Badlands, there's Waldrug, which is so quirky and tacky and awesome at the same time.
Yep.
So just like go there expecting it to be those things and you'll love it.
As you saw, people were fishing here, lakes, boating, swimming. I mean, so many things to do in the Black Hills.
If we've whetted your appetite to visit the Black Hills, we've got a couple of videos for you. First of all, you can see the 10 best things to do in Deadwood, or check out our hour-long trip planner that talks about all the great things there are to do in the Black Hills and all the nuts and bolts you need, like lodging, when to visit, and all of that fun stuff.
Thanks for watching.